Oh, what's going on, GameLeap? This is Coach Cheeks, and in today's upload, we're going to be talking about the 10 best mid laners for patch 12.4, which is about to hit the Rift. So to know the champions you have to play in the mid lane for next patch for free LP, make sure you stick around for the whole video. And because we're so nice, we'll also give you the rune pages, the builds, pretty much all the information you need to know about these champions before you head out onto the Rift. Now, to master any of the champions we mentioned, guys, in the next 10 minutes, you have to check out the GameLeap website, linked in the description and comment section, because our challenger players and coaches from around the world upload up to 20 videos a week, and these will be guides, these will be courses on these champions, and we'll also look at some of the best players in the world and their games and how they use these champions differently from everyone else. So to get that exclusive access, sign up and let's get into the video. So coming in at number 10, we have, well, one of the most consistent mid laners in the entire game, and Ellis will love this tier list because Annie is number 10. So for Annie, with Luden's Tempest and Shadow Flame and Sorcerer's Shoes, the magic penetration is absurd. And as far as your rune page goes, taking Electrocute with Relentless Hunter at the bottom, this means that you have the movement speed to get around the map and make plays, which is kind of why we pick Annie, because we can get cucked if the enemy champions play range. So having this extra movement speed is really nice and honestly necessary. Now, apart from this, everything else should really make sense. Flash and Ignite, very standard stuff, so we get those Flash, Ultimate, Ignite kills. But when you do play Annie in the mid lane, guys, always be careful of using your Q to last hit minions. I know lots of Annie players will do this, but most of the time, you want to be saving your Q. I know the cooldown goes on a very short cooldown when you do last hit a minion, but it does give up a little bit of pressure for that little bit of time. Also, it's going to use one of your stacks, so your stun. So if you have your stun up, please don't use your Q to last hit a minion because you give up all the pressure in the world. But Annie, great all-around champion to pick at the moment, and she still packs all the offensive power in the world, so she comes in at number 10. But ahead of Annie, coming in at number 9 on this countdown, is one of the most annoying champions anyone is going to play against in the mid lane, because if you play as a Talon, not only do you have the kill pressure during the laning phase, but you also have some of the best roaming potential out of any champion in the mid lane. Because of your E and also the Ghost Blade you'll be getting after your Prowler's Claw and Lucidity boots, this gives you the mobility to get to those skirmishes in the rivers and also to bottle top lane to finish off those low HP targets. Now, just like Annie, we're running Flash and Ignite, but it's also interesting here because the best actual rune page for Talon is when Talon players are using Conqueror as their keystone, because Conqueror, with the stacking going back to 5 seconds and Talon these days being able to stack this pretty easily, you can get access to the damage very quickly, and you don't lose that much damage when you compare this to the domination tree. It's actually worth just to sacrifice a little bit of damage because you will still have enough once you get Dirk, Prowler's Claw, and all of that extra lethality later on for a bit of survivability with Triumph and then Tenacity. These runes really come in handy, so make sure you give this rune page a shot and you will understand why we're recommending it here. But one champion on this countdown who Talon might struggle against, this is the Cryo Phoenix Anivia coming in at number 8, and Anivia has had a great season so far. Ever since Riot buffed Archangel's Staff to 2600 gold, so 400 gold cheaper, and also made Everfrost just 2800 gold at the start of the pre-season, Anivia has been in a really strong position. You've also got Crown of the Shattered Queen, which is still 2800 gold just like Everfrost, and the active is so useful, especially against champions who we just mentioned like Talon. It makes you pretty much unkillable. Remember, on top of this, you'll have your egg, so if you do get jumped on, it's almost like you have 2 lives, 2 bites of the cherry. Just make sure to max your E first and to also take an attack speed minor rune shard in your rune page, because attack speed early on for Anivia is crucial. You don't really have that much wave clear until you get your Glacial Storm at level 6, so we need the extra attack speed to thin those minion waves, and it's also really useful for trading and harassing our opponent. So Anivia comes in at number 8. Now, ahead of Anivia filling the number 7 spot on the top mid laners for 12.4, this is none other than Vex, and I don't think anyone's really going to argue about this pick because she is so broken in pretty much every single elo, and the reason for this is because her kit, the damage she can do after a pretty much guaranteed fear because of her ease radius and her ultimate resetting during teamfights, it can be very oppressive, and if you die once during the laning phase to a Vex, she's probably going to snowball out of control and end the game in 15 minutes. But if you are going to play Vex, it's not as simple as picking Vex and winning. We still have to be building the right things, so Everfrost into Shadow Flame with Sorcerer's Shoes, the magic penetration from the last 2 items, but also Everfrost the Root comes in really handy to land your skill shot, so your Q and your ultimate, especially after you lead with your E first, so there's a lot of lockdown potential in that, and it also helps during those mid to late game team fights where you ultimate in there and you can use your Everfrost to lock down multiple enemy champions. And let's be honest, you'll still easily have enough damage even if you don't go Luden's Tempest to one-shot enemy champions. So Vex comes in at number 7, just please take your E first and not your Q or your W. Now ahead of Vex comes one champion, guys, who is one of the best counter-pick mid laners in the entire game, and you're probably thinking, oh, he's going to say Zed or Katarina. I'm actually going to talk about, well, someone who's like Zed, said, an AD champion, and this is Tryndamere. And at the moment, we're seeing Trynd pick a lot in pro play to counter champions who struggle with their wave clear. And this is really during the early game and laning phase, so someone like a Victor, for example, really struggles with Tryndamere's pressure because he can just shove waves permanently, and you're not going to deal the damage you need to deal to ever threaten him. And if we look at the rune page and just this setup on Tryndamere in general, this is why we're running second wind for that ultimate sustain and also maxing our Q first. This means that during the laning phase, we can be as obnoxious as we want and get to that mid to late game, which is when we can really take over. So Tryndamere also should be considered for 12.4, and he comes in at number 6. But one of those champions Tryndamere does very well against is coming in at number 5, and this, to be honest, has probably been the best mid laner for season 12 overall, and this is Victor, who you really still can't go wrong with. And the reason Vic is so OP, not just is the new rune first strike really good at him, and you can go airy into those range matchups, but you also have the new mythic crown of the Shattered Queen. It makes you unkillable, and because you love enemy champions diving onto you because of your gravity field and your close range damage with your Chaos Storm and so on, Victor is still too powerful, and this is across the board. In any elo you can pop off on him, and because in most elos as well, lots of enemy champions, well, they don't really know what playing at range means, but they're going to be up close and personal, which is what you want. This means that you're going to get all of your damage off, so Victor comes in at number 5. But one champion who's performing a little bit better than Victor at the moment, this is Veigar coming in at number 4, and even though you're getting nerfed next patch, so your armor's going down and your ease cooldown is also going up, it's really not going to mean that much because this is more oriented towards Veigar as an AD carry or AB carry in the bot lane. So as mid lane Veigar, you're still going to be more than fine, and with this setup you can see on your screen now, so with Predator, Ingenious Hunter, and Everfrost, it is just all too much to deal with. When you have your cage available, you could well be the scariest champion on the Rift, because if you can ensnare someone inside of that circle, they are 100% going to die, especially in the mid to late game, which is going to come around sooner for you now because of the Q buff a few patches ago. So Veigar is still in a great position for 12.4, and there's no reason to stop playing him. Now, starting off the top 3, guys, we're going to mix it up a bit here and talk about one of the best attack damage mid laners you can play, especially in the early game. So if you want to win the game by 5 minutes, then Aurelia, to be honest, is the best mid laner for it. The damage you can deal early on, the kill pressure you have if you land one of your flawless duets, the enemy champion is probably going to have to go through summoner spells to survive. So you still have all the power in the world early game, but you also have kind of good scaling now. Because of the buff to Blade of the Rune King a couple of patches ago, you're getting 2% extra on hit damage, and you also have a choice of mythics. You can go Gore Drinker, which is giving you more attack damage. Even though you might be losing a bit of HP, you will be one-shotting everyone, or you can see here, some people in high elo are going Trinity Force because of the extra HP it gives you, because do you really need that much more damage on Aurelia? Probably not. So it's actually worth just to sacrifice a bit of that to put a bit more oomph into your durability, so Aurelia comes in at number 3. Now, ahead of Aurelia coming in at number 2, we have 2 similar champions here, in the sense that both of these are attack damage champions, and they can build, well, some of the same item. And these two are Yone and Yasuo, and ever since the Bruiser and Fighter items got changed a couple of patches ago, Yone and Yasuo, these two assassin DPSs, have really loved the new Death Stance as a 3rd item. So after Shield Bow, Infinity Edge, it just gives you way too much healing now, because the new healing passive is scaling off your bonus attack damage, and once you get a lot of attack damage from your items, you become legit unkillable if you weren't already. Because Shield Bow on these 2 champions, in particular Yone, it is just way too frustrating to deal with, and even if you are 1 in 10, which is your power spike after all, it doesn't even matter, because once you get to these item spikes, the game is pretty much GG. So the 2 Wind Brothers share the silver medal for 12.4 in terms of the best mid laners, but they are beaten to the number 1 spot by a champion who got updated recently or changed a lot, and this of course is Ahri, filling the number 1 position. And for Ahri right now, she has not seen better days, because ever since Ahri got changed, her abilities are dealing more damage, she can get more ultimates off during team fights, up to 8 of these, and you also have more sustain during the laning phase, so it's all good. Even though you're squishier because your armor went down, does this really matter when no one can really touch you anyway? Like if they get too close, you just press your charm, you charm them, and you're sweet. And not only all of that, but Ahri is one of the best blind pickable all-around mid laners. She really has no hard counter, so you can pick her knowing that you're going to have a more than winnable matchup. So this is why Ahri fills the number 1 position, guys. So make sure if there was ever a time to play her, it is right now, especially in 12.4, because nothing is getting changed or nerfed, which is super good. So keep on abusing her for that free LP and the rest of these champions. If you did enjoy this countdown and you want this series to continue into the next patch, make sure to let us know by leaving a like down below. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future Season 12 daily content. And until tomorrow's daily upload, this has been Coach Peace.